It's really interesting that Jonathan Nolan is like got this really strict American accent, but he's Christopher Nolan's brother.
Yeah.
It's just really, really interesting. Because like when I saw the interview with him after Westworld, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
He's a pretty good actor.
Christopher
I like his
Nolan
accent
is
too.
English.
It's really cool to
I
see.
know. And that's why I was like, huh? But that's him. I just Googled it because I wanted to make sure.
He's fucking huge too.
Yeah, he is a big dude.
Man. In episode 3 when he's repelling, I'm like, oh goodness. You're a large fellow.
Boy, Lawrence is getting the vapors.
I was getting a little vapory. I wonder about that stuff. It's certainly an intriguing question. How much of a sociopath is really within you? And how hard would it be to give yourself over to that?
Sure, yeah.
Well, it's the case of nature versus nurture.
I guess so, yeah.
And how much you're inherently predispositioned to behave a certain way, but then what influences might spur you onto them. Hey, welcome to the soup.
Amazing intro.
Oh, no problem.
Welcome to a robotic bowl of dude soup. You take one sip and you question your place in the world. Or, just Westworld chat. Welcome back to Westworld Talk. Talking Westies. What's the stupid post show about Westworld? 'Cause surely there is one by now.
I don't think there is, thank God.
There's no Talking Dead equivalent?
No.
I
I
think Geek and Sundry would have dogpiled on that already.
I'm really glad that they have it.
Like Go West.
Go West, young man.
Yeah, Go West, young.
Oh yeah, everyone loves that.
People.
Go West, young internet.
It was in second grade. I was in a musical called How the West Was Fun.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
I was one of the leads. Clearly born to be a star.
What was your character's name?
I
Fievel.
don't fucking remember.
Fievel.
No, sadly no.
Wyatt Burp.
It was. That's really good. Shit. No, there was a lot of singing and dancing.
You?
There was a Go West, young man, Go West.
No, I just.
That's when the living is best.
Go West.
Something I can't attest. Go West, Go West. Yeah, I know.
Lyrics
are
you
all
remember the
flowing
song.
back.
Good for you.
I had to memorize it, man.
Good for you.
I take performances very seriously. To that effect, this podcast is sponsored by two fine sponsors, Casper and NatureBox. Right now, NatureBox is offering Dude Soup fans 50% off your first order when you go to natureboxclub.com/dudesoup. And you can get $50 towards any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/dudesoup. Learn more about that later. Just so everybody knows, we got some nice Battlefield 1 footage in the background. Man, Battlefield 1's cool. Bruce, you vouch for it, huh? Pretty heavily?
I played. This is all my footage.
But can we trust you? Because you were really hype on Battlefront. We all know that was a terrible shitstorm, right?
It was kind of. I was a shitstorm.
Just the worst video game.
The game worked.
No.
It just didn't feel like a full game. So maybe I don't know if this game feels a little more full than
It's got a
Battlefront-
campaign.
than Battlefront does. And I played like 10 minutes of the campaign and it was cool. But
I'm down for the campaign.
multiplayer is where I'm at. I
Weaponized
just shot that man
Taco.
in the back.
Fuck,
by the
that's
way.
a good name.
It's I think I played about 4 hours of it now. And I really, really enjoy it.
You were traditionally a big Battlefield
I'm
fan.
traditionally a big I've been playing Battlefield since Battlefield 1942. I played all of the Battlefields since then, Hardline, all of them. So I'm a big Battlefield fan. I like the game, but this one feels better than Battlefront did. Battlefront didn't feel like a Battlefield game. It was a little easier and it felt a little more, I think, kind of like dumbed down. This one's not that. This one requires a lot of thought.
Well, I loved Battlefront, Bruce.
No, Battlefront was fun. I really loved Battlefront. I was a big fan
I
of
did
it.
enjoy
look at
Battlefront because it was easy and
Just
dumbed
covering your
down.
bases, Bruce. You're another corrupt gaming journalist.
No, I
Can't tell
really
like it is.
I bought that game. I
same here.
thought it was totally worth what I paid for. But regardless, I enjoyed it. I feel like this is Battlefield 1 is a refreshing take on basically war shooters because like we played Infinite Warfare for like 20 minutes on Friday and it was a joke. Like it was a total joke.
So what was so bad about it? That it was just broken?
The whole thing's a joke now.
It's so absurd.
You know exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah, there's like robot men like running on the walls and shooting laser beams, and there's party favors going off, and airstrikes and orbital cannons shooting, and some dude like pounds his fist together to activate power fist, and then he's like punching electric bolts out, and just it's not this, and even this is still absurd because it's got giant fuck off blimps that shoot bombs everywhere.
I guess. I suppose my perception is like Call of Duty is like the over the top.
Yeah,
like
it is.
It is a sensational guilty pleasure that
It
it's kind of
absolutely
like
is, yeah.
perfected the frantic shooter formula. This is the realistic shooter, but then this also seems kind of over the top in that you've got submarines and horses and all
I think
that sort of
Verdun
stuff.
is the realistic thing.
Man.
And if you want realism, sure, and a lot of people do. So it's not like I'm calling the internet's bluff because they do that a lot too. But I think the takeaway should be like we don't. it's okay to like one or the other. Like one is not better fundamentally.
No.
Furthermore, it's fantastic that for the people who want it, they can find whatever they want.
Yeah.
You can get something realistic like Red Orchestra. You can get something kind of in the middle like Battlefield 1. Or you can get fucking Call of Duty with
Robots.
robot men linking together and forming a super bot and stomping around the map. God, I hope that happens.
Well, Lawrence isn't joking. Like there are so many things that we immediately like. Call of Duty is so nice now because it's so familiar, and there are so many tropes. So as soon as you get into that game and you get all sorts of sweet guitar riffs and things popping up on the screen, and robot men jumping around and stuff like that, you're just like, yep, I'm back. Like it feels good to be back. So, and this is a totally different experience. Like you even in Battlefield 4 and 3 and 2, like you're not in traditional World War II tanks, you're not in traditional modern tanks, you're in these fucking giant, like you'll see in a second, but you're in these weird, basically they're ships, they're called land ships. And you can't move them, you can't move the turret. When you fire, it's way off. It's like, it is a lot like you'd think World War I would be. And that's why I like it, because it's different. So,
Unless somebody in the comments write this, or maybe they already have, this podcast is not sponsored by Battlefield 1.
Not at all. No, are you kidding me? I'm going to buy the shit out of this game.
I don't know if we can lift the skirt on that. We are doing a Battlefield 1 thing, but more details about that.
Bruce, I've known Bruce has always loved Battlefield.
Oh yeah, always.
Like, that's just the game that I associate. Like I feel like that and like CS:GO, I think of like as.
I played CS:GO, but I'm not nearly as. I wasn't good at that. Battlefield, I'm all right at. So.
Did you ride in a Zeppelin?
I did yesterday. I didn't do it in this gameplay.
Is it just like painfully slow and whatever?
No, it's fucking awesome. Like there are you get these giant turrets and like you're firing huge shells that are blowing up, swaths of. That's another thing I was telling Lawrence. Is like basically everything is destructible. So like apart from the really important structures on a map, you can shoot out walls and blow. And like I was standing behind a wall. And then it blew up in front of me, and I was just standing there exposed with a tank staring at me. I was like, oh, great. And then I, obviously died. But there's even more destruction than there was in Battlefield 4. Which is
there a little meter like tallying how much priceless artwork you've destroyed?
There definitely should be, because you're blowing up like castles and old cathedrals and things like that. So
It's really interesting because for the people who don't like Battlefield, and I totally get it, but they basically talk about how they don't want to run across a map for 5 minutes just to get killed.
Yeah.
And that's cool. It does seem like there's a bit of exchange there because COD, like ridiculous shit's happening all the time, therefore nothing's really all that ridiculous. COD is just a series of running down hallways and shooting people, which is, if that's all you want to do, great. But Battlefield 1 has those kind of moments where you're hunkered up in a building, you've been there with your squad for like 5 minutes, you're locking down this point, and then a tank rolls in and just levels the building you're in, and then you have to scatter, and it creates more of an extended narrative of gameplay, which is the thing that I kind of latch onto. Yeah, the moment to moment can be frustrating, but once you get into the vibe of it, you have a really good match. You can have this like war story that unfolds over 20 minutes of you and your bros kind of running through trenches and getting in planes and taking over points.
James has always said, and not to belabor this Battlefield 1 point, but James has always said that the trailers for Battlefield are almost exactly, like they're very, very similar to the gameplay, more so than any other video game. Because when you see a plane fly over and a tank go by and a guy explode and all that other stuff, that all happens in the game. That happens over and over and over. And like you said, there are extended stories that you have where you see something happen over here and you see something happen over there, like, holy shit, like all this crazy shit is happening. And it's very much like the trailer.
Horse in it?
Horse in it. Look at the head. This is my favorite part.
I can never figure out the horse all that well.
Horses are not easy.
So the horses can get injured and
they can get injured.
die.
You can kill a horse. It's really hard though.
They don't show them die.
They just fall over?
They show the health go down. No, you fall off. And then like they don't really show them die. So like I don't know when they go away. I haven't seen a horse explode yet. I would like to see a horse explode. But I don't think they do that on purpose so that you're not like killing animals,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We're talking about Red Dead, right?
Yeah, let's talk about Red Dead. Enough with the game that's about to come out. Let's talk about a game that hasn't even been announced yet. So Rockstar has been teasing those little teases. Let me throw this up on the monitor here. I'm sure that our audience has seen this stuff already, but just for the sake of context, I'll just throw it up. So there are 2 tweets so far. Number 1 was this little girl right here, which pretty much everybody right away said, "Oh no, Red Dead."
Yep.
And then this morning followed up with this thing, which we can only presume is the silhouette of the cast. And jokes abound, they're doing Ping Pong Club again, and it's Bully 2, it's State of Emergency 2, haha, yeah, we get it. You looked up the Wikipedia page. I don't know if we can necessarily tip that particular hat, but Red Dead 2 is sort of what we've heard around. Yeah. Not necessarily us specifically, but there was that Reddit thing a while ago where somebody related to some like old radio personalities that had since moved on to Rockstar went to visit them, and he hinted that RDR2 was a thing coming. It's a whole convoluted thing. You can check out our notes story if you want to know that. But yeah, and now there's this, so it's pretty much locked in, I think. Also contextually, man, Red Dead was just a phenomenon. Before 2010, if you told somebody that the biggest game would not only launch in summer, but be an open world Western, people would say no fucking way. Because that just wasn't the environment at the time. And then Rockstar found a way to change everybody's minds. They tend to do that.
Yeah, they really do.
But yeah, it's so the problem is the like pace of releases with Rockstar has slowed way down. They had one a year for a while there, with like DLC for GTA 4 and then LA Noire and Max Payne 3, and then GTA 5 came out. And unless you count the expansions for GTA Online, been relatively radio silent ever since 2012, 13.
That's true, and they probably got 1,000 people employed across the world.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what they're working on.
So the way I read into that is, and this could be inaccurate, but I have a feeling that Red Dead 2 has been in production for 4 years now, but a lot of the rest of the company probably went into like panic mode after GTA Online came out, because I bet it was way more popular than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I kind of read into it a similar situation that happened with Blizzard and World of Warcraft. The entire company switched over to support World of Warcraft for about 2 years to get it into a place where it needed to be with like global support, localization, 24-hour, all that stuff. Once they got it there, then other releases started picking up.
Yep.
And you had expansions coming out regularly, Heroes of the Storm, and now Overwatch. So I'm expecting that from Rockstar. Now that GTA Online is up, humming, and making money, and they have a pipeline of rollout for content, now suddenly they can start to, okay, what's going on with these other projects? Hopefully we'll get Red Dead 2. Based on them announcing this now, I'm going to guess summer 2017.
I think that's kind of what people are assuming. It's going to be about a year from now. It's funny, when people tweeted me with, I think it was back on Inside Gaming, we reported on Red Dead Redemption 2, and like rumors of that, so it's been rumored now for 2 years?
Very long time, yeah.
2.5 years?
Well, I really like if they announce it, if they hard announce it within the next like week, and then it's coming out summer 2017. I really like that new timeline. Bethesda is employing that sort of announcement release timeline where they're like, well, we'll give it maybe 6 months between announcement and release.
Like
and
the Fallout.
Yeah, we're not gonna hang on to a 2-year hype train that then fizzles out at the end. Like I really, really appreciate and like that cycle.
Yeah, no, me too. And I was just gonna say a cautionary tale to our audience. If they say summer 2017, at Rockstar, they'll probably delay it a little bit. They usually do. They did with GTA.
They can.
They delayed it like 3 or 4 months. So, and it's like one of those things that, hey, you know what? They're Rockstar. No big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Also, gosh, I'm gonna play it. I want to play it. I'm just curious. So there was a time when I needed a game like that because there wasn't a game like it to play yet.
Yeah.
But there are so many open world 3D action games.
But not Westerns.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it's weird now to now be in a place where I want the best of everything, not just a thing of everything. So it's like, oh god, I can't wait for Red Dead 2 to come out. Meanwhile, I haven't even really put a dent in Witcher 3. Dragon Age Inquisition, I barely touched. Mafia 3 just came out, and I'm enjoying that.
I think I'm going to play the Dragon Age games. I think
Really?
I might make that my thing.
That's a time investment.
It makes me really sad.
That's a
but I
major
might
time
do
investment.
I feel like probably. I mean, you do too, Bruce. But I think you looking for GTA maps every week really know the life expectancy and the longevity of GTA 5. Like you more than anybody, maybe.
Oh, he looks for all the maps.
Yeah,
It's
you
not me. I
every
never do.
week. Yeah, you're looking at those maps and
Those are all community made too. So
Yeah.
So, like, do you think that there's a possibility they could make a Red Dead sequel that has the lifespan of like a GTA 5?
Well, so it's
doubt
tempting to think about it in terms of it's like a natural good for a developer to want their game to stay active. But these days, that only matters if people are spending money. That's the only reason you want your service to have a tail. And there's actually another headline that I can get to in a second that reinforces that. But it just in relation to how many people are buying DLC these days, which is actually a lot. The thing is, if I were Rockstar, I would be concerned that if I launched Red Dead with the same model as GTA 5, like that there's a Red Dead Online that will have microtrans and community-generated content that will keep people involved, and also first-party content to get shoot stimulus into the. I'd be worried that I'd just be sloshing the same player base back and forth between 2 games.
Oh, that's a good point.
So instead of supporting one product with the overhead involved and making money off that, I'm splitting that revenue between 2 products that now double the overhead of maintenance. So I have to pay for all the servers and support for Red Dead 2 or Red Dead Resurrection, whatever the hell it's going to be called, in addition to GTA Online. And now I have to both manage and message 2 player bases, and I'm not significantly making that much more money. So I think the question Rockstar would have to ask, and I'm sure they've done the research on, is how many players out there would play and spend money on Red Dead Online that aren't currently playing and spending money on GTA Online?
I was going to say, that's presupposing that their whole player base on GTA is still there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm guessing that they probably lose 100,000, 200,000 people a month or whatever, and they kind of like drop off the service just because you get tired of another, or you play another game or whatever. So I'm guessing that they want to revive those people and bring them back into another Rockstar franchise like Red Dead. I don't know if it'll be online.
That's certainly valid.
I mean, like, it is interesting. We talk about how like single player versus multiplayer, like the single player campaign only video games are going to kind of get phased out. There are a few of them here and there.
They're kind of coming back, though.
But yeah, like
the-
Titanfall
like, there's a
2
weird
had to bring
weird
back its
resurgence of it.
campaign.
But that's
Yeah,
that's
Battlefield
a-
1 has a campaign, too.
I was going to say, but those sorry, single player only.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah,
not
yeah.
just so like I'm talking about like Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Mafia 3?
Or Mafia 3, yeah, that's another good example. Those games typically are kind of looked down upon, but you're right, there's sort of a resurgence. So I wonder if Rockstar will just keep the single player only.
I think that's a really interesting point. I mean, even Red Dead Redemption had multiplayer, free roam and stuff. And
Yeah, it
was,
did. Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was kind of atomic to what GTA Online became. I think what we're seeing with AAA games now is they're sort of understanding that mobile games had a life cycle for a reason. Is if you were a Gree or whatever, a Zynga, you would put out your product, and you would know right away it's not going to last forever. That's just kind of a given. But you kind of have a magic window to suck money out of people, and you want to extend that window as much as possible. But going in, you have a game plan to like, this is when this game's going to enter maintenance mode, and this is when we're going to sunset. And it's all about how much money people are spending versus how much it costs to maintain.
Yeah.
I think in that respect, you're right. And maybe that's what informed the release timing of Red Dead Redemption 2 more than just the game is done, so get it out the door. Because that's kind of the single player methodology of we're gonna work on this game as long as we have time and money. And once we run out of one of those things, we have to ship. And we'll try to clean it up as much as we can. And if you're Rockstar or Blizzard, you have the luxury of just iterating forever to make more or less the perfect game.
Yeah.
But what could happen is now that Rockstar is kind of more service oriented and more game developers are becoming more service oriented, and maybe the sort of thing where they run all the analytics, they have all their charts, and they say, okay, once the graph hits this point, we launch our next product. Because that's when we need the boost back up in revenue. And it's all about keeping above a certain baseline. So that would be an interesting development model. I don't think you can do it that way. I'm just sort of speaking out loud because games kind of require planned out phases of development. You can't just sort of move on the fly and then ship a product.
Well, but I mean, like, it's an interesting point that you bring up because it's a lot like a YouTube channel. It's the way we run our YouTube channel where like we start to see kind of a down.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, oh, we got to do something new, or we got to like try, or even try something well established and sort of bring the graph back up. That might be what they're doing now, where like you said, they can iterate on it forever, where they can make a game and have it done maybe within 3 years and be like, well, this is shippable, but we still don't see a downturn in GTA Online revenue. So once we see that downturn in the revenue, then okay, all right, we got to get it out.
Yeah.
And like that, and that may have been something where like a bunch of people, basically a bunch of their accountants, were looking at like, well, our revenue is kind of going down from GTA. And they're like, okay, well, Red Dead Summer 2017, like that's what we'll do. So I don't know.
I could see if you gave, with a game like that, an open world type game where more or less you can bolt on content. So you've got your world, you've got all your geometry, you have all your like main story quests and stuff. And if you're at a kind of shippable point, but it's like, well, there's some bugs we could clean up, there's some side quests we could put in if we had the time. Somebody from Rockstar, and this would be pretty cool if this ever happened, and this is pure speculation, but if they said, okay, here are all of our nice to haves, and somebody was like, well, we're pulling in enough money off of GTA Online, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And if that changes, I'll let you know. And then once it does change, it's like, okay, we're looking at about a year from now we want to launch. So it's time to draw the line on content, start doing your polish passes, and then be ready to ship in 9 months, knowing that 12 months is probably when retail's going to hit.
Yeah.
So that would be a pretty interesting model, and I think it would be a pretty interesting sea change for the way games are made and planned. I think players would probably react really negatively if they heard that, because I think it would be the one thing that always amuses me is that hardcore players never seem to acknowledge how much money is the deciding factor in everything.
Yeah.
They seem to talk about it as though it's just a quality issue or being constructive to the craft of games as a whole.
Yeah.
But no, it's mostly just money.
Well, like Red Dead came out 2011 or 2012?
I think it was 2012.
Twenty-
I just looked it up because I was looking at.
Was it 2012?
It may have been
see.
2011.
I thought it was.
It was 2011. I'm pretty sure because I remember I finished it in 2012 or 2013, which was way after the fact.
like, I have-
2010.
There we go.
2010.
Yeah, I knew it was old.
I have to imagine that, like, coming off the success of that and then sort of mastering their deployment strategy with GTA content, they have to know what the next at least two years. And this is just me completely, my own personal assumptions on this, but like the next 2 years of like, okay, here's our rollout plan for Red Dead.
Oh, absolutely.
If we move
they
into
know that.
online,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing.
They're $1 billion business.
Yeah, they're so ahead of the curve, like
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
like next we get the LA Noire 2,
Oh, finally.
get all the dreams come
I
true.
don't know. Team Bondi has been scuttled basically, right? They're working on
Was it
working
Noire?
on Horror of the Orient.
Oh,
Oh.
I don't know anything about Ellen
Game.
Noire. I didn't
oh my
play
God.
it.
Yeah, remember?
I totally forgot about that game.
So Rockstar technically didn't make L.A. Noire. I think they just published.
Oh, that's
and maybe they chipped in talent and stuff. But Team Bondi in Australia,
Oh.
they were the leads on that, and they made L.A. Noire. Oh, okay, I guess. Nope, Team Bondi was liquidified.
Oh
liquidated.
dear.
It is. I think Horror of the Orient is a dream that will never live.
Oh no, Lawrence, we should kickstart it.
We should, yeah. Well, so Rockstar still has the IP though. So
Yeah.
I think they've done this, with Max Payne. They published 1 and 2 that were made by Remedy, and then they made 3. So it's still conceivable that they could make an internal L.A.
Pick up the
Noire.
franchise, yeah.
Oh man.
And that happened with a couple of different games.
Lawrence, as our resident Horror of the Orient.
Yes.
I feel like you need to take
Soon.
this on.
I actually, so L.A. Noire, the only 2 Rockstar games I haven't finished, and this is going all the way back to like fucking State of Emergency and Beta Raider and Manhunt. Actually, wait, I never finished Manhunt 2. But I didn't finish Bully, or I haven't even started L.A. Noire. And to me, I was like, I have to play all the Rockstar games in order. And at the time, I think I hadn't finished Red Dead, so I hadn't started L.A.
Oh.
Noire. Although I could now.
I just heard Ellen Noire was a joke.
It's like you're knocking coffee cups
Yeah, no,
over.
I just heard it was a joke. So like,
Okay.
a friend of mine played it, and he was a big fan of Rockstar games, and he was just like, it's kind of stupid. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna stay away from it. Like Red Dead was the one that there was a period of time where I used to live with this guy who would all he would do was play video games, and it was awesome because I used to sit there and watch him play everything. He played all the way through Rage. I don't know and I couldn't believe that he played 30 or 40 hours of Rage, but he played all the way through Red Dead. And so I got to basically watch the whole video game from start to finish. And I was just blown away. I was so happy that I wasn't playing it because I was so lazy after work that I just didn't even want to pick up a controller. So it was great. It was just like watching a television show. And Red Dead, I was constantly impressed about how, I guess, in-depth the campaign was and just how visceral and gritty the game looked and felt, from the weapons to the characters to everything else. And it always struck me as a really good classic Western that is even better than the older Westerns that were sort of like the spaghetti Westerns that were like a little polished and stuff like that. This felt more dirty and gritty, like the actual Wild West. So I feel like I have to play Red Dead Redemption 2 when that comes out, at least a little bit, because I don't have anybody to play it for me.
You just hire someone
I
to
could just hire
be
someone.
at
play
your
it.
house by the time you get home
Matt,
every
Matt
day.
Peake, that's a good idea.
Get him on
Oh.
Yeah, I have to convince him though. I have to be like, all right, like put a brownie next to him and be like, okay,
bud.
eat this and I'll play this.
So I'll just spend the entire time staring at the horizon. Well, if you're dog tired after a day of work, you should recuperate on a Casper mattress with sponsoring this podcast. So Casper is some space-age tech, combines latex and memory foam for the squishiest, softest bounce you've ever felt in a mattress. They sent one to me because I guess I'm a podcast lord and I get everything.
Pod Lord.
But no, it's
Lord,
amazing.
yeah.
Also, Matt got one too. And he's been looking as fresh as a spring chicken, which is a phrase people still say. No, as a product, it's wonderful. It's the best mattress I've ever had. And I've bought I remember when I graduated college, I was like, I'm gonna be an adult. I'm gonna go buy a real mattress. And I did, and it was like $1,200. And guess what? It still felt like a bed. But the Casper thing, I'm down with. It is future tech. You need that shit. It's got breathable design, which means it's cool to sleep on. I overheat very easily when I sleep, which is has caused some issues with partners of mine.
Uh-oh.
They'll want to glom up on, and I'll be like, I'm sweating, get off. So I'll just flip them off the bed and then sleep like a baby.
Refusing a woman's attention.
Yeah.
Right in center.
Don't touch me.
Only when I want. Casper also offers free delivery and painless returns with a 100-day period. So you can order a mattress, try it for up to 100 days, and if you don't like it, you can return it. The reason they offer that is they say that just laying on a mattress in a like a showroom isn't going to tell you how it feels when you sleep on it, which is true. If you spend 8 to 9 hours on it, it's going to feel a lot different than just plopping down on it for 30 seconds or so. So that's a great thing if you just want to try it out. It's also free shipping and returns to the US and Canada, and Casper mattresses are made in the USA. So you can support the greatest nation on earth by buying mattresses from it. You can get a Casper mattress, $500 for a twin, $950 for a king size, which is actually really good compared to what mattresses cost new. It's kind of ridiculous how expensive they can be. And you can save an additional $50 towards your mattress purchase by going to casper.com/dudesoup and entering promo code DUDESOUP. Once more, that's casper.com/dudesoup with promo code DUDESOUp. Terms and conditions apply. It's a new thing we have to say.
Yeah, sure, of course.
It makes me feel like I'm reading a more official advertisement. So thank you for your sponsorship, Casper. I highly encourage you guys to look into it because I enjoy mine. It's also Gus brings this up. It's really good for fucking because you can like every time you like rock back into it. So
I don't want to think about you or Gus.
depending on the machine
Having
gun
sex.
action of your pelvis. I mean, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. We know this. So when you're in there, it also kind of pushes you back a little bit. So if you anchor in and you're going at it, you kind of just tend to slip back.
In? What is he talking
But
about?
a Casper mattress gives some good like you can dig the hooks in and really maintain position.
Oh God.
You know, like every 30 seconds you got to readjust because you're slipping.
Oh boy.
Those silk sheets, man.
It's because you're sleeping on silk sheets.
You said that part about returning the mattress after a 100-day period.
That's a lot of
and my
fucking.
brain went somewhere else.
Yeah,
on
that's
that one.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah, this whole podcast is just you now in my head.
Get
gross.
one thing that the male privilege is moving in with a
Sweet.
lady
Oh.
and being like, why do you have multiple sets of sheets? And she just
You know, I once read that on average, women change their sheets 26 times a year,
Okay. So
which
that's
is every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
and men change them 4 times a year.
No, no, no.
That was
4 times a year?
the statistical average that I read.
So
4
no-
times a year.
I'm not. I always change my sheets. Okay. I would always.
Uh-oh.
Whenever I do weekly laundry, I would always wash my sheets. It's just part
Yeah.
of doing weekly laundry.
Oh, you wash them every single week?
More or less, yeah.
Shit.
Sometimes I skip a week if I'm.
I feel like
feeling
every
lazy.
2 weeks.
But-
maybe more so because of him.
It was more for me. It was like I only need one sheet at a time because I take it off, I wash it, and then I put it back on.
Oh, yeah.
Why would I ever need a backup sheet? There's a reason.
I mean, there are reasons, but like also, you can change your sheets and then put the dirty ones in the hamper.
It's not a
Yeah.
sex reason. Damn it.
No, not a sex reason.
What's
Okay.
your reason?
It's not mine. That's the thing. As a dude, I got to not worry.
It's a female reason.
As a lady squirting
I
reason, sometimes you gotta.
Nah.
Oh, he's talking about squirting.
No, well, no. Period.
Well,
blood.
it's no.
Oh, there,
Could've
that's
put a
what I
nail
was
in it.
thinking. I was
But you know,
thinking.
But you know, there's some squirts too.
I don't have problems with that.
Well, I mean, I feel like if you're kind of in tune with your body, you would probably know.
Taking testosterone pills.
No, not that. I
It just
don't know.
clutters all
you know,
over
we
the hair.
get,
Nothing comes-
Benson is like the main reason we gotta like change
he
our
gets
sheets.
his period on the
He
on the
gets
sheets?
periods all over our
Oh.
sheets. Well, he does like his his nose because
Oh,
he's
it
got his nose
bleeds.
problem. And he gets
Oh,
and I'm like,
buddy.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, he gets
so
hair everywhere. Sorry, Lawrence.
speaking of weird things, in regards to like hygiene stuff that no one talks about.
Yeah.
This is not going as terribly as it did in the last 5 minutes. So there's this is a Jezebel article that has somehow prompted, like, it's like kind of a honeypot. Things you didn't know about the people you spend all day with. This question sort of exposes it. So I'm just gonna throw this out to you guys. When you're in the shower,
Yeah.
do you explicitly wash your legs?
Yes,
You do.
I do.
You don't.
I do not wash my legs.
Because you think soapy water just running over it is enough, don't you?
So the other day, I probably shouldn't mention this on the podcast, but James was talking about how he starts washing from the feet up.
No!
And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
so-
nobody cleans themselves
Well,
like
that doesn't
that.
make any sense because then whatever dirty stuff comes off the top
Yeah.
goes on
Rolls
your
down.
bottom.
Yeah, you gotta start from the top and go down.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a top-down kind of washer. But I also explicitly wash my legs and explicitly wash my feet.
So do I.
Oh.
Some people think that just stomping around in the shower is enough.
Oh.
It's not, at least.
No, it's
Damn it.
it's definitely not. I mean, like, I'll tell you a really gross story.
Oh, boy.
So I had an ex-girlfriend who she, and no fault of her own, got a plantar's wart. And a plantar wart is underneath your, basically it's like only on your feet usually. And they're really big warts that are kind of buried into the calluses of your feet. But I didn't know that apparently that can be like shared on a shower floor because I got a plantar wart.
Oh no! Is it painful?
Plantar warts are the worst. I think I told you the story on another podcast about how I got how I took it out myself. Basically,
I remember that.
But I didn't realize that they were contagious. They're there was a virus that lived on our shower floor that apparently I got. So that's something that you have to be really, really careful. And that's why like washing your feet is good. And like I would assume washing your shower a lot is good because that's something that I try to keep up with.
I have, because of my foot hygiene, I have super thick calluses. So I can walk on any.
That makes sense.
I can walk on any surface.
But that doesn't mean they're clean.
You go on hikes a lot and stuff too.
I do.
Right? I don't think that's related to you not washing your feet.
I was going to say,
I don't think it's
doesn't
like
mean they're
dirt
clean though, Elise.
I think it's just because you actually stay on your feet a lot.
Can I tell you a shower pet peeve of mine?
Yeah,
and I don't think you guys face this as men. And maybe the ladies listening and watching this will relate to them. And it's gonna make me sound disgusting, but fuck it. We gotta get the views up.
That's right.
So as a woman, when you have really long hair, if you're washing your hair in the shower, the hair, you lose like at least 100 strands of hair a day.
Yeah.
The loose hair is gonna get
butt
stuck
crack?
in your butt crack.
Yeah.
Do you ever get that?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know this from experience.
Really?
Just from other experiences entirely, yeah.
So wait, at some point, does it become routine in the shower to reach back and pull the wad out?
Well,
no?
yeah, sometimes you just have to dig it out.
I figured
No, you have to dig it out. I mean, like, and also like, somebody said this on the other podcast recently was that when you get that handle,
wand?
the shower handle that comes off, that's the best thing in the world.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can get every part of you, like all over down here and underneath. It's great. Oh man, I don't know how I lived before, but it's great. It's amazing.
Yeah, that is good for cleansing the hair.
The only thing I am an excessive wiper because
so am I.
I like to
you
be
wipe till
clean.
you see blood.
Yeah,
Yes,
basically.
Red clouds, sky's red.
But
Gross.
the only issue I get from that, and I think it's better than the alternative, is I'll get little like balls of toilet paper crammed up in.
Dingleberries.
So dingleberries are supposed to be shit though, right?
Well, no, they're shit and toilet paper.
But they're clean berries.
It's all they're clean dingleberries.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's not so bad.
Dingleberry I thought was just like hardened crap that was like rolled around in hair.
It can be, but it's also like hair, crap, and toilet paper.
Oh, okay. Well, but one of the most pleasant experiences, it's one of those like I truly am a hairless ape, is when I get in the shower, open up the cheeks, let the water hit, and then you can kind of feel some stuff flush out.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Well,
Wow.
so I was going to say
good.
a thing you don't know about, but us being a man, is
Sweet
having
bros.
hair
Yeah.
all over your ass and in your ass. That's the worst. It is the worst. And it's one of those things that like I must have got when I was like 16. And ever since I was 16 years old, I've had to deal with this. It makes it impossible to wipe. I read an article once about some guy who was so hairy.
He nared his asshole?
He said it was like, no, he said it was like shitting through a sieve. Like, it's basically, that's what it is. Like, it's like you got stuff like catching things on the way down. And it's the worst.
That's why you got a wet wipe, bro.
But you know what? I bet you sweat less between your butt cheeks because you've got that air to circulate through the hair. That's what I mean. That's a great part of the
there's no skin
body
on skin,
hair of
right?
like underarm hair,
because
pubic
it mops
hair.
up the sweat.
And it allows air to circulate sort of through those areas.
See that?
Do natural cooling. So, I mean, you've probably got one of the driest
that's
anuses
don't know.
I've ever sat next to.
You sit in a leather chair,
I've
you
ever
still
had the
get that sweaty
pleasure
butt
of working
crack.
with.
Well, that's probably because I'm like Lawrence. I'm a clean freak when it comes to that. I hate feeling dirty.
I use baby wipes. Like,
Well, so I
adult
don't.
baby
The reason you
wipes.
don't use baby wipes, I think James and I have talked
They're
about
not flushable.
this. They're not flushable. Number one, but number two, your body will get used to them, and then when you don't have baby wipes, like let's say you're shitting in a restaurant, and then you have to wipe yourself with not a wet wipe.
Yeah.
It can like your ass can get chapped.
Huh.
You can
No,
chap your hide.
You got to MacGyver that shit. You can still figure it out. So there's a couple of techniques. If you're in a one-person bathroom, you got access to a sink. Boom.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that- those are the-
absolutely,
yeah,
Dab it up a little bit,
absolutely.
straight-
Of
scrape
course.
it out.
Yeah.
Toilet paper is a bad idea.
Well, because it'll rip.
It's gonna, and the quality of the toilet paper.
And
you're gonna wash your
you gotta
hands.
ball up a lot of toilet paper. You gotta do like probably 14, 15 squares.
Oh no, come on.
Pile it on
Oh,
top.
yeah.
Nonsense.
Baby wipes, are you not dry wiping before you wet wipe?
Oh, I
I dry then wet then dry.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
that's
gotta
the way to do
sandwich
it.
it. Yes.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, sandwich your butthole.
That's right. I don't know.
I flush them wipes. They're flushable.
Well,
If they say,
if they
a lot of
say
them aren't.
sometimes they're not, and actually they can clog up the like a
Yeah.
sewage
Yeah,
tank.
even the ones that say they're flushable end up clogging up the
Boom.
intake of all the water. too.
That's why I prefer to use wet toilet paper because it's always there. And if you really need to, if you're really hard up, you can take the top off the back of the toilet, dip it in the tank water.
Oh my gosh, I've never done that.
That's just water. That's the
you
thing, though.
MacGyver?
A little bit.
I don't know if I would ever
Wow.
do that.
I mean, no, you're not drinking it, but it's not poop
Yeah,
water.
but you're
There's-
putting it all over your butthole.
Maybe if I was like in Guantanamo.
Your butt already has
do that.
shit all over it. I don't think putting water that
But it
comes.
might be somebody else's shit.
No, not in the tank.
Well, the tank water's clean.
in the
right?
bowl,
It's pure.
yes. The tank comes right out of
So
the.
I
I'm not
also
sure.
I also
Ooh.
once read
Who
that
takes a dump in the tank? That would be terrible.
Some people do. but-
I,
Oh, man.
I also once read that the water in your toilet bowl is cleaner than the water in your sink because it's like flushing so much, less bacteria is accumulating.
How is that possible?
So like
Like if you were to pour it into your sink and then drink out
if
of
you
it?
were to
walls of your
scientifically
sink are bad,
measure
huh?
the quantity of bacteria in your sink as opposed to your toilet bowl,
Oh.
because the
Oh, I
toilet bowl
see.
is flushing, it's
See
constantly
that?
cleansing itself.
cleansing
Yeah.
itself and
You're dumping ammonia in there 4 or 5 times a day. More if
yeah, I
you're
guess
Adam
you're
and drinking
right.
a gallon of water.
yeah. So I bet yeah, I wouldn't do that, Lawrence. I wouldn't put that toilet
My
tank water in my
butthole
butt.
is diamond clean,
Spick and span.
sparkling.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
boy.
hear it if you get close. It's like wind chimes.
It's a wind chime.
All right, I guess back to video games.
Oh, yeah. Dang it.
So there were a couple of interesting things in video game culture recently. One was Mafia 3 launched without review access, and then as invariably as when that happens, there's posts from every outlet saying, "This is why you won't get our Mass Effect 3 review on time."
Oh yeah.
I'm like, all right, get over yourselves. Most people conflate that with the game is bad, so they don't want anyone to know before it comes out.
Yep.
I don't know exactly why that is. I wanted to reach out to I should reach out to Bethesda because they launched Doom without a review window, and based on that and everyone dogpiling hate on the beta, everybody thought Doom was going to be horrible, but it was actually really fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. I meant to reach out to Pete Hines and see if he could say anything, but didn't have time. So, sorry about that. But Mafia 3 came out. It's abnormally long, and that's kind of what it's getting dinged for. It doesn't have the best reviews, but I'm having fun with it. A lot of the reviews basically say there's a lot of bullshit that shouldn't be in the game that artificially inflates the length. I'm personally curious if that's more of a negative if you have to play it quickly to get your review up as quickly as possible. But I guess to me, the bigger question is, does anyone give a shit about reviews anymore? Because certainly the publishers don't need it, it seems like in this case. Or rather, if they know that it's like a 6 out of 10 kind of game, they'll just skip it. But in an age where in the hours before a game comes out, you can see some schmo on Twitch playing it and just watch candid gameplay. It seems to me that for the average gamer, that's much more informational than a 2.5-page review from somebody you don't even know, really, unless you have really followed their writing career and buy into their opinions and know their background and all that stuff. So I don't know.
We asked
You
this
guys?
question. We asked this question like once.
It comes up
every
pretty
3 or
often,
4
yeah.
months, and I still think reviews are they are useful. Watch this. It's great.
Oh, boom!
Oh man, he didn't even know. And they're still useful. I think people still use them. I think probably I don't know about maybe the majority of people, because one thing that, and it's funny, Adam's always hated scores. He's always hated scores. I hate review scores, and for me, I love them because they quantify. So you can go to CNET or you can go to any other website, Polygon, and be like, I don't need to read the review. Scroll down to 8 out of 10. Got it. Understand. And it's the easiest way to not read a review, but know what the outlet thought. And that's why I like those sorts of scores. And I think I would probably say that a vast majority of people that aren't so enmeshed in video games like that, because they can just go to a website and be like, what does GameSpot think about? Okay, got it. I understand. So I think that they're still valid, but what you said is true, which is more people now are looking at Twitch, looking at YouTube, looking at the gameplay and being like, it's just, okay, this is what it looks like. Do I like this or do I not like this? So
Yeah, I guess my only problem with scores is always the when people look at like a 7 and they go, oh, that's a bad game. It's a 7.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
no, totally.
that's not necessarily a bad score. It's just like it's a good game.
Yeah,
I don't always know whether the 5-point scale or the 10-point scale is
Absolutely.
better. I really like just being able to look on Steam and see like positive, mixed, negative, how many reviews. Like I don't necessarily go and I look at user reviews. Sometimes user reviews on Steam are more like valuable to me than like a bloated website review. Just somebody saying like basically why they liked the game, why they didn't like it. In layman's terms, they're not trying to jazz up their language or do anything like special to it.
Some of them are phenomenally well educated.
They are.
I'll click on these like weird indie reviews and somebody will be referencing Flash games from 2008 and it's like all actually contextual and informative. I'm like, gosh, you're super into this and you're not doing it as a job. You just did this just because you like these games. That's cool.
No, and they might be a more valuable source because it's like clear that they are playing so much and they're taking the time to make a Steam review.
Well, and it has their hours played and whether or not they bought it right there, which is not something that's on reviews.
That's super useful. Yeah. Although I think it was just you reading another Steam reviews where like some dude had played like 160 hours of a game and he's like, this game sucks. And then you're like 160 hours, like there's no way he thought that game sucked.
Yeah, I forget what game it was, but we were looking at them and all the reviews were like 200 hours, 140, and we're like,
I'm tired of this. And you're like, well, yeah, no shit you are. You played 200 hours of it.
And then, but you can factor that in. It's like, well, you bought it for $8 and you played it for 200 hours.
I know.
I mean, it doesn't seem that bad if you could get, maybe they just had nothing to do. Well, okay, there's another trend that I wanted you guys to weigh in on. Paid early access. So this is a new thing that's kind of happening. Forza Horizon 3 had a thing where if you bought the $100 Ultimate Edition, you could play it the Friday before release. Battlefield 1 has the early access through EA Access, which is a lot more affordable. But even still, it's just kind of, you can play the first 3 single-player missions, I think. I think the same thing happened with Battlefield 4.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you get? So it's more about like the sorts of tools and options that are available to the consumer. Personally, I think if PR has done their job so well that you're willing to pay over market price to play a game early, that's kind of on you. There is kind of this trend in gaming culture that consumers are not responsible for their own actions, specifically when it comes to like hype. It's like they blame PR and hype for getting them abnormally worked up for a game, especially when it turns out to not be that. But say that Sony did that with No Man's Sky, that would be crazy because there were people that were so amped up about it that they probably would have paid $500 to get in early.
Yeah.
Like that one dude who bought I think an auction copy for over $2,000.
Yeah.
That dude was super measured about it, surprisingly, but man, could you imagine if they did early access for a game that ended up being bad? So you would have people paying $100 twice retail to jump in 3 days early, and then they would have a good 2-day window to warn everyone on the internet to stay as far away as possible. I don't know. It seems like it's the sort of thing they can only do with a game they know is good.
Yeah.
And in that case, that almost becomes like a show of faith from a publisher. Like if they're going to give it away early access, it's got to be good because they know word of mouth would catch up to it if it weren't. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking through it here. I don't know if you...
With Destiny?
Did Destiny have an early access thing?
Yeah, if you pre-ordered the game, you got access to the alpha or the beta, whatever.
Oh, well, that happens. That happens a lot of games.
Yeah, that just happened for was that Call of Duty? You got
Infinite Warfare.
I thought there was another. I thought Battlefront.
Yeah. Beta access is increasingly becoming the carrot that they dingle in front of you to get pre-orders.
But that's free.
Pre-orders are not necessarily, depending on how you do it.
Because Destiny didn't save any of your progress, though.
Yeah.
What I mean is, it's free in the sense that you bought the game and they just give you beta access for free.
Oh, I see.
But like if you pay over market price to get into a game early, I feel like that's, in my opinion, that's like almost like a win-win. For the most part, you're gonna get, even if somebody doesn't like it, they go on and like complain on Reddit, then yes, we'll get the Reddit soldiers, but for the most part, you just made an extra $30-40 or whatever on a bunch of people that paid into it. I don't know. I don't see much of a downside to that for publishers. Unless some dude on Reddit can rally millions of people not to buy the game. I don't know if that's a thing that somebody can do on Reddit. I think it takes months and months and months and a lot of snowballing to get to that point with Reddit. But I don't know. I think that seems like an okay strategy. Plus, hell, if you paid an extra $40, that was your choice.
Yeah.
You paid the money. So I mean, like, you can't get upset. Like the guy with No Man's Sky, you can't get upset for spending a ton of money on this one game. You did it. Like, I feel like it's kind of cut and dry.
Do you know how much EA early access costs? Is it like $5 a month or something?
It was like $5 or $10 a month.
Yeah, it's like super cheap.
It's really cheap, yeah.
And then you get kind of like 2 hours with the game, I think.
Well, and you get
Or approximate.
this is not an ad for EA access, but
No.
it comes with a lot of other stuff. There are a lot of games that kind of get sunsetted into the free program on
Yeah.
EA access.
Yep.
And it's kind of becoming I mean, we speculated about this for a long time that publishers would become service providers. So much like HBO has their roster of shows that they then charge a premium to get into. It's kind of what EA is doing. If you pay directly to EA, not only do you get to play the latest releases early, provided you also buy those, but then after a year or two, those get rolled over into the subscription plan. So I think Dragon Age Inquisition's in that now. Need for Speed, I think, got added to it recently. So it's one of those, I mean, not only is it kind of a good service if you like getting things early, but if you're a budget-conscious gamer, that can be the sort of thing where, okay, I love video games. Every month I'm going to allocate $10 to buy a subscription to EA and then Ubisoft. And that way I know that I can play all the Assassin's Creeds that are 2 years older or more. I can play all the EA games that are older. I don't know. It's a really interesting... I'm fascinated by all the different ways game companies are finding to offer gaming experiences to consumers at different price points and at different times.
It's not exactly the same because it's not necessarily early access except for the
That's
titles
$5
that
a
are
month.
under
Oh, it's
that.
$5. Wow.
But Steam, like I have returned a game on Steam that I purchased and played less than 2 hours of and thought, this is not the game that I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so I requested a refund and it was fine. I feel like that's sort of another option as opposed to if you can wait and you can wait until release, like Steam has that policy in place.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be the No Man's Sky early adopter. You can be like the person that gets it on Steam and then returns it. But
Yeah, no, that's totally. I mean, I think that like if you're willing to pay the extra $20 or whatever to get it 5 days early, I mean, if you want to do it, then do it. It's your money. You know, like hell, you might really end up not liking the game, but that happens with a lot of purchases, not just video games. So I mean, that there's a lot of things that I
That's
bought.
kind of life, isn't it?
Yeah, it's it's up to you to do the market or to do the research. And if there is no research about it and you spent $40 to buy it early, that's on you.
Yeah.
Like that's totally on you. So
Well, one thing you won't be disappointed in, quality snacks from NatureBox. So NatureBox makes snacks that taste great and are better for you. They use whole, all natural ingredients, no corn syrup, none of that shit. No artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners. So you can feel great about snacking. It's the sort of thing where you just get dried fruit in a bag, or more complicated things. And here's the big service they want to tell you guys about, and that's also why they're sponsoring this podcast. Is they now have something called NatureBox Club. And this is there is a monthly membership fee of $5 to get in the club. But once you order anything, that fee is then paid against what you order. So essentially, like you pay $5 in every month, that accrues and basically have credit. And then a la carte, you can order whatever snacks you want whenever you want. So the old situation was you would put in your snacks and every month they'd ship you a box. They listened to their customers. They heard complaints of like, well, that's not really how I consume snacks. And if I get kind of a box full of snacks I don't want in a given month, I have to wait a whole month to get new stuff.
Yeah.
So now they have this. You can just jump on, order whatever you want, and that membership will then count against whatever orders you have. So it's just I guess like kind of a down payment to get in the program, and then once you order snacks, it all comes off. So it's a pretty cool idea. I also kind of think about it. I know the way I would work is I'd sign up for it. I'd forget about it for 4 months and I'd be like, oh, I have $20 credit sitting there. And I know it's not quite this, but I'd be like, oh, I got some free snacks coming. And I just go and order them and then it comes. So you go to naturebox.com, you can browse their snack catalog, choose what snacks you want, and they'll deliver them right to you. It's pretty simple. A lot more simple than their previous setup, which was pick snacks and then it might make it in a box, it might not.
Wow.
They also give you the freedom to order as much as you like, as often as you like, with no minimum purchase required. And you can get 50% off your first order when you go to natureboxclub.com/dudesoup. Once more, that's natureboxclub.com/dudesoup for 50% off your first order. That's actually a really good deal.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go buy a lot of cranberry blizzblams or I don't know.
Fuzzy Wumples.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Fuzzy Wumples.
We used to be sponsored by NatureBox a lot, and used to do a little game show called Real Snack Fake Snack.
Man, I loved when we
based
did
on
that.
their awesome snack names. Might bring it back if NatureBox decides to sponsor us again.
I hope they
And that's
do.
entirely dependent on how many people go to the website and order snacks. So if you want to hear us talk about strawberry chocolate whiz-whams, make sure to go hit up that sponsorship. So thank you, NatureBox. Once more, that's natureboxclub.com/dudesoup. That's 50% off your entire order. So thank you, NatureBox. And that reminds me, I need to fill out a little form so we can get more of those.
Oh, free ones?
Yeah, I love whenever NatureBox snacks come in.
Yeah, don't let Jacob get a hold of them.
Yeah, it's just
Jacob ate
gross.
them all last time. Or like he had his own. I don't know.
He's a hungry boy.
Regardless, he was eating all that Nature Box stuff, and I wanted some. He made me hungry.
Yeah, it gets Lord of the Flies pretty quick when Nature Box drops in. And speaking of small digestible things, NPD Group just put out a study showing that 28% of the U.S. population of men and women ages 13 to 54 have purchased extra video game content in the past 3 months.
Wow.
So that's DLC. 28%. NPD Group clarified to GamesBeat, which is what I'm reading this from, that its research is targeted towards console and PC games, so that does not factor in mobile. And I can only imagine that it actually might be a little higher then.
Yeah. James, Marvel Puzzle Quest.
Yeah.
James and Adam.
Adam's wailing it.
James told me a really funny story. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. Just one more thing to add in. VentureBeat concludes saying, despite how much negativity vocal gamers aim towards DLC and microtransactions, the NPD Group notes that 77% who purchase additional content claim they like having the ability to pay to extend their enjoyment of a game.
Of course.
And to close with a less surprising stat, over half those who buy DLC said they would purchase more if prices were cheaper.
Yeah.
But this kind of flies in the face of, I think, what is considered the game's narrative that core gamers kind of endlessly repeat to themselves, is that everyone hates DLC. Stop parceling out my game. The way that I always see it is, and this might be a little too permissive, it sucks when it's obvious that a game's design is bent around pushing you to buy stuff. But I think more often than not, the mere existence of DLC keeps games at a $60 price point.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people say 60 is too much, and it's a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But it's also been that for 10 years at this point, and games have only gotten bigger and better. I mean, look at this. This is going to be $60.
Yeah.
Whereas games launched at that 10 years ago with half the content, half the visual fidelity, and a dead man flying.
Yeah, that was great. That
was awesome. I don't know. I mean, sure, people point to stuff like Battlefront saying this has gone too far, and that's not an unreasonable point. But man, it's stuff like the people who are willing to pay $100 to play Forza Horizon 3 days early. That's the stuff that keeps games at $60.
Yep.
And yes, all the ludicrous loot box stuff and opening up this to get a camo thing, and even Infinite Warfare is using that system. And like Halo has rec packs. That stuff, the way I see it, could be wrong about this, but I swear everything that I've seen kind of supports that stuff is in there so $60 can stay. And $60 is only staying because everything else is still $60. I'm kind of surprised Activision hasn't been the one to release Call of Duty at $70. Wait. The pack that has Modern Warfare 4 remastered.
That's got to be 70, right?
I thought that was 80 actually.
Maybe 80,
Yeah, that would make more sense. You're paying $60 for a game and $20 for the remaster.
I can tell Activision's been trying to, because they were the first to push Call of Duty to 60 on PC. For a long time, AAA was 50 on PC. That was just the expectation. Activision bumped it to 60 with, I think, Modern Warfare 2. It's been 60 ever since. So the market's kind of waiting for the first mover to go to 70 or 80 for AAA retail.
Well, I mean, I've been paying for the pre-orders for Battlefront. I bought the deluxe edition or whatever, and as far as I could see, it came with nothing extra other than a few extra weapons, and that was 70. So, and I kind of did it without batting an eye. I was just like, whatever, fine. And I'm pretty sure that there is a $70 and $80 version of this game as well. Speaking of which, it's over.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, Lawrence. I think that's coming up very, very soon. They're going to start bumping it up to 70 and 80.
Legacy Edition is $80.
There you go. Yeah.
And yeah, you can parcel that out in your head and say, well, it's 60 for Infinite Warfare, 20 for Modern Warfare Remastered. But there's a reason they're not selling it separately. And I think it's because they want to establish the perception of a new higher price point for the base product.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think everybody that rallies against DLC, I just want it out. I think the more interesting question is, are you okay with DLC and all of the related hooks being in a game if it stays 60? Or do you want it out and you're willing to pay 80 for a game? Well, I don't know. What do you guys feel?
Elise?
The problem is that I am currently I always battle mentally with the current price point of games. Though I did come from Canada where games are $80 Canadian dollars.
The Canadian dollars are lower?
Oh yeah, you're right.
They're low. I mean, a Canadian dollar is worth less than the American dollar.
Yeah, this is us being unfair and only considering the American price point when Australia and other things get.
Yeah.
All those places. I always just think back to how much SNES games, N64 games used to cost, and they were $80 then.
Yeah, 80 to 100.
And nobody really, people batted an eye, but
There's nothing
wasn't-
they could do.
Yeah, nothing we could do.
Not
Now
now.
there are services like Steam and stuff. I just keep going back to Steam. I'm like, Steam is be all, end all, everything to me.
Well, and then you raise a good point, because if you're like, I don't want to pay $70 on Call of Duty, well then go to Steam and buy whatever you want for $5.
Yeah.
Like there are millions of games that are
Fucking hold your
$5.
horses.
Like, and you know, it's like everybody's like, well, that's not Call of Duty. Well, yeah, no, I know that.
no shit.
That's, you're paying a premium. It's like, do you want a Samsung television or a Vizio television? Well, you have to pay more for a Samsung television. And that's sort of the thing that, like, you know, like
Stop popping up.
that's what these products are. They are AAA games. You need to pay a premium for them. I'm sorry, it sucks. It really does suck. And I'm always really grateful to companies that don't make you pay a premium. Like I credit those companies more so than most when they're like, oh, it's only $50 or $60. Then if it's, you know, then it's 80, then I'll be like, okay, cool. That's a cool, a large company being cool to me.
Are Nintendo new releases still like 50?
They're 60.
They're 60?
Yeah, they were 50 for a while, which was kind of weird. The thing that gets me with Nintendo is their new releases on 3DS are now 50, I think.
Oh, shit.
Which one was it? I think might have been Shin Megami Tensei. There was a new 3DS game that was $50 at release, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess you can get away with it. Fuck. And Nintendo's kind of an outlier. They find a way to maintain the price point of their games. They never hit bargain bin unless they want it to. Like
Yeah.
they re-release it as the Nintendo Selects or whatever. But fuck it, Nintendo's basically obsolete by most modern game standards. Speaking of which, NX sometime ever?
Yeah, we'll get that. We'll get the new system pretty soon.
I went to the Nintendo World Store in New York.
So
Oh.
jealous.
It was magical.
Yeah.
Pretty great. They had the Nintendo Muppets.
Man,
the
I wanted to
Nuppets.
go. Oh.
The
They're,
Nuppets.
They're called, I guess they're.
What did you just call
referred
me?
to- My joke gets me every
I
time.
know.
Okay,
They
Pokemon Sun
they
and
were
Moon
on
40.
display, and little Shigeru Miyamoto Muppet in there. But not as much Zelda merchandise as I had hoped.
Boo.
Oh.
Anyway,
gotta
little
wait for,
sidetrack there. Sorry, Lawrence.
Oh,
No,
Corpse
no.
Party is 50. There are some games that are retail as 50, but that's Xseed. I guess it's the dorky Japanese shit.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just
But if it's like the
poking through 3DS price points.
AAA titles for
Oh, yeah.
Wii U are 60 or 50?
They're 60.
They're 60.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, all right. Well, okay. Most of the Nintendo stuff is 40. Yeah, but there are a few $50 3DS games.
I wonder if NX price points will get right up there with like other console
Maybe.
AAAs.
It's been interesting to see because you guys were remarking on Steam, there's basically a complete breakdown in price points. Because like starting in 360 generation, the perception was if it's a downloadable game, it's 10 or 15. If it's retail, it's 60. And those are the two. You don't get to break out of that. Whereas at the time, Steam was like, yeah, we got games that are 30, we got games that are 5, we have games that are 60, we have games that are 80. It was kind of all up and down. And I really liked that breaking the mold of the tiers that games are expected to release in.
Yep.
That's starting to happen a little more on console too. You're getting new releases on Xbox for $30 and things like that. And I imagine NX is going to be even more kind of Wild West in terms of pricing, provided what we've heard about it is accurate, namely that it is a portable / desktop
So weird.
touchscreen / buttons type thing. So not only will you get
I'll
first party
buy it.
Nintendo
I was
stuff,
gonna say, everybody
yeah,
shakes their head.
I'll buy it.
And I know you guys are going to buy it.
but there's going to be a lot of like 3-man dev teams putting mobile ports onto that thing, and those will probably cost $1 or $2. Boy, I hope it gets delivered in a way better than Nintendo Store, because that's clumsy, slow, and weird. Whereas a phone, it's just tap tap, and then you're already installing it. So that whole like time to purchase, time to download thing, Nintendo's going to have to really look that over. I imagine they're smart people; they're going to figure this stuff out. But man, they just like pretending like the rest of the internet isn't there.
No, I mean, that's the way they've operated for 50 years.
all they've ever
They can
done.
do whatever they want. At least I want to hear your funny story.
Oh yeah.
You said you.
Oh, I shouldn't tell it, but I will. But James he plays Marvel Puzzle Quest.
Of course.
And Adam plays Marvel Puzzle Quest
does
with him
Lawrence,
as well.
yeah.
You guys are all in the same alliance, I believe.
Yes, of course.
And you'll know it better than I will, but I believe that when someone spends a monetary amount in your game, it influences the success of all the other players,
The-
correct?
They all get a
Alliance.
little goodie
Yeah.
when you do it, yeah.
So James got something, and I guess he was talking to Adam and said, "Oh, can't believe some chump like spent this much doing this." And then
Yeah.
Adam was like, "Oh yeah, can't believe some, and it was Adam."
Oh,
So
It was, of course,
the
Adam.
context of that
It's
is
not beyond him.
Yep, yep.
the context of that is James is pretty deep into the Marvel Puzzle Quest community, and
Community.
the developers had announced that they were going to do an anniversary sale coming up.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right.
So So James was like, all right, here we go. Gonna wait for that sale to kick in, then I'm gonna buy me some stuff. And then like 2 days before the sale was supposed to start, this notification came up on his Alliance feed that somebody had purchased like the whale pack, which is like a $100 thing. And we all got a lot of shit, like a lot of good stuff, because you're like, oh, some idiot bought a lot of stuff.
2 days before the anniversary.
And James
sale.
was like, in the office, he's like, I got this notification. Somebody in our Alliance bought this big thing before it all went on sale. What an idiot. And Adam was just there.
Oh no!
But he made it better because when the sale went on, he did it again. So he bought the same thing twice.
Adam did?
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Waste
'Cause
of money.
We're calling Adam a whale, and he doesn't like it. But
I think he embraces it.
I was like,
It's
okay, he
more-
does.
it's-
Okay, good. All right.
It's more the negativity that he kind of galls against. Because I kind of feel the same way. There is this weird idea, and I hate to talk so abstractly about gamer culture because somebody's already offended telling me how full of shit I am. But people kind of take pride in not spending money on free-to-play games.
Yeah.
Because I think they consider that kind of fueling the downfall of games.
Well, and they think they're gaming the system too.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
they can
they're
beat it without
absolutely
spending
not.
money.
James thinks.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I think to a degree, playing a free to play without spending money is playing on hard mode. But at the same time, they need money. Like they make games, right? And,
Yeah, right.
and I don't think it's a negative or makes you less of a player to spend money on something you enjoy.
No, it's not.
That's all Adam.
It's not a negative. I just think it's funny.
It's really
Yeah,
fun.
I think it's funny too. I also think it's funny just how like accepting Adam is of it,
Yeah, he
and
came around real quick.
and you know, not even in that. Like, but when we tease him, he just kind of
Oh,
is like,
yeah, of
okay,
course. That's
like,
what.
no
Yeah.
defending. What
it's
are you gonna
it's
do?
endearing.
The only possible response is, but my Psylocke needed her psychic blade upgraded.
That's one of my favorite things. Is like I've said before, we need to have Adam. I need to have just basically a podcast of Adam describing Marvel Puzzle Quest for an hour because it's great. Because he'll describe the stories and he'll describe like what he had to do to get an item and what he had to do, and it's like listening to a 5-year-old and he knows he's doing it. That's what's so funny about it.
Well, James
So,
always does this thing where I guess he gets I don't know anything about Marvel Puzzle
Neither
Quest,
do I.
and I choose to keep it that way. But he gets a card that is like a special reward.
Yep.
And he'll have me tap on it,
She's laid of luck.
oh right, yeah,
And-
for luck, yeah.
and then he'll look at it and he'll go, And I'm like, is that bad? And he's like, no, that's good. That's a great card.
Yeah, no,
And I'm
I was
like,
just
why
saying,
did
I don't
you
never
act
know
like
either.
that?
Yeah, I don't know. Who
Why'd you
cares?
react like that?
Who cares?
Wanted you to second guess yourself for a little bit. Oh man. Well, guys, I think we're coming up on time.
All right.
Oh, no.
Thank you all listeners and live viewers for joining in. We had a nice, stimulating, disgusting conversation today. Stay tuned for
DLC.
About dingleberries.
Yeah.
DLC.
Dingle. No, never mind. I was trying to see if DLC could match up with Dingleberries anyway. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for doing that. In the effort to keep this show going and kind of getting more popular, make a small request. If you enjoy it, recommend it to a friend. See if they like it too. Maybe leave us a little rating on iTunes or whatever service you're using. If this show matched your hopes and expectations, we can only hope that you'll come back next week. Join us for a new discussion about games, dingleberries, and what have you. If you're watching live, stay tuned for the Dude Soup post show. That's coming up after this. That's where we look at some fan art, talk to the audience. You guys can submit questions live. And if you're watching on the YouTube video or maybe watching on the podcast, if you're curious about the post show, that's on the Rooster Teeth website. If you go to fun.house, which is a really awesome URL, go to the shows drop down, Dude Soup post shows in there. It is for first members only though, so just be aware of that. You'll have to sign up, but that's what keeps the lights on in here. It's first membership. So thanks for everybody who did that, and if you're curious about it, maybe check it out. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next week, and if you're watching live again, stay tuned for the post show. We'll be right back.
The way I was looking at it, because like when I played it up for the podcast for like, I don't know, an hour, 45 minutes or whatever it was, I enjoyed it. And the more that I shot lasers at rocks, the more I was like, boy, I'm not really sure if I enjoy this or not. And then I talked to Lawrence, I think a couple of days later, and you're like, yeah, that's what you do for 10 hours. You shoot lasers at rocks. And
For 10 hours forever.
well, I mean, yeah.